Hello everyone, welcome to my class today. This is Salin here. Today I'll be dealing with the next medical surgical disorder, that is pleural effusion. So pleural effusion, so as the name suggests, pleura is the pleural cavity, that is the covering of the lungs. Effusion is there is some fluid accumulation. Okay, so it is an definition, it is an abnormal accumulation of fluid in the pleural space. Okay, this pleural space fluid can be accumulated because of due to increased production of fluid and decreased absorption of pleural fluid. Okay, so it can be due to increased production or decreased absorption of pleural fluid. Okay, so when you see this is the lungs, so the lungs have a covering called pleura. Okay, so the inner membrane is called as visceral pleura, the outer membrane that is near the chest wall is called as parietal pleura. So in between the parietal and visceral pleura there is a space which is called as pleural space. Okay, so this area is called pleural space, and usually in the pleural space there are little few quantity of fluid is present in order to prevent friction and also to provide support to the lungs. Okay, but in pleural effusion you can see, so this is the normal amount of fluid, whereas here there is so many fluid, so much of fluid is accumulated in this pleural space. So this condition where there is abnormal accumulation of fluid in the pleural space is called as pleural effusion. Okay, next coming to the etiology of pleural effusion. Okay, so etiology means what are the causes of pleural effusion. So first cause is altered permeability of the pleural membranes. Okay, so as I already said, the lung is covered by two layers. Okay, permeability is there is permission for fluid to go. Okay, so this membrane, that is the pleural membrane, has become more bigger. This pleural membrane is become so bigger so that it allows so much fluid to enter inside. Okay, so that is called altered permeability of pleural membrane. So altered permeability occurs in case of any infection or inflammation, or during any malignancy, or it can occur because of a pulmonary embolism. Okay, so in all these conditions there is increased permeability of the pleural membrane. So in infection there is inflammation. So whenever there is inflammation there will be redness. So after redness there will be fibrous deposition. So these all will cause irritation to the pleural membrane, where the pleural membrane can get disrupted and thereby pleural fluid will get accumulated inside the pleura. And again malignancy, in malignancy also it's a tumor. This whenever there is a tumor there is more of lymphatic drainage, so due to increased metabolic activity of the tumor tissue. Okay, because malignancy means tumor tissue keeps multiplying in a higher way, in a increased amount. So there is increased metabolism. During increased metabolism there are so many cellular debris, lymphatic fluid, everything is formed. This fluid will alter the pleural membranes and thereby this fluid can extravasate into the pleural space. Okay, they can move into the pleural space and thereby they can cause accumulation of the pleural fluid. And next is pulmonary embolism. So pulmonary embolism, so you know the heart. Okay, so the from the right side of the heart there is a artery called as pulmonary artery. It gives rise to branches like right pulmonary artery and left pulmonary artery. These two pulmonary artery goes to each of the lungs. Okay, so when they go to the lungs they divide into so many branches called as pulmonary capillaries, and these pulmonary capillaries go to the alveoli for oxygenation. Okay, so in pulmonary embolism what happens is there is some embolism means moving clot. Okay, so for example one clot is moving here. Okay, maybe in the pulmonary artery this clot is very small so it can easily move, but when it comes to the pulmonary capillaries it gives so many branches, so this clot will come and accumulate in any of the small capillaries, and this capillary the fluid cannot move into the lungs. Okay, so because this area the clot is obstructing, so from after this area the blood cannot move, so there will be more pressure created here. This area, the area prior to the clot will become bulged, and because of the bulge fluid will extravasate and they can go to the pleural membranes also. Okay, so these are causes due to altered permeability of the pleural membrane. Next, coming to reduced intravascular oncotic pressure. Okay, oncotic pressure means it is the ability or the ability of the blood vessels to pull the fluid inside. Intravascular means intra is inside, vascular is blood vessel. So the blood vessels or these capillaries, they have to pull the fluid from the outside area. Okay, but here it is reduced. Okay, so usually when the pleural fluid is very high or more, the capillaries will draw the fluid by a pressure called as oncotic pressure. In case, so many conditions where the protein is less in the body. Okay, when the body is decreased protein, so protein is the product that maintains this oncotic pressure. So when protein is decreased, our blood vessels will have the decreased oncotic pressure. So in condition where there is decreased oncotic pressure, fluid from the external area cannot be pulled inside, so inside the pleural space fluid will get accumulated. That means they will not get absorbed into the blood. Okay, so the conditions which will reduce the oncotic pressure is, so as I said, it is due to decreased protein. So one type of protein is called as albumin. So hypo means decreased, albumin is a protein, and anemia means blood. So when there is decreased albumin in the blood, then this oncotic pressure will not be maintained in the capillaries. Okay, so because of this fluid cannot be withdrawn or absorbed from the external area, so fluid will get accumulated in the pleural space itself. And another condition is nephrotic syndrome. So in nephrotic syndrome, so this is a syndrome of or diseases of the kidneys. So kidneys are mainly responsible for filtration, tubular absorption and tubular secretion. So when the blood is going to the kidneys, the glomerular filtrate has to absorb the protein. So protein, glucose, whichever nutritious, that is whichever nutrition is necessary for the body, that has to be absorbed from the glomerular filtrate. But in case of nephrotic syndrome, this absorption will not take place. Okay, so nephrotic syndrome is a condition where the glomerular filtrate will also allow the protein to get eliminated from the body. So when protein is eliminated, again our blood will go to hypoalbuminemia. Okay, because of the decreased protein. Okay, so again oncotic pressure will not be maintained, so patient will go for pleural effusion. Okay, and next condition is cirrhosis of liver. Okay, so the cirrhosis of a liver, so main function of the liver is to detoxify, and also it helps in metabolism and synthesis of protein. Everything is done by the liver, and in cirrhosis the liver tissue is becoming damaged. Okay, so it can be so many causes like alcoholism or any drugs. So many causes we will see in GI system. So cirrhosis of a liver, where the liver is getting damaged. So because of the damage of the liver cannot do its function, so the protein metabolism will not take place. Okay, so because of that there is decreased protein in the blood, and when there is decreased protein, oncotic pressure is not maintained. Okay, so these are the causes of reduced intravascular oncotic pressure. Okay, and next, increased capillary permeability or vascular disruption. Okay, so opposite to this is capillary permeability. So that means capillaries have blood. Okay, so when the capillaries, when there is more tension created, that means more fluid is accumulated in the capillaries, the capillary, so the cells in the capillary will be arranged like this intact. Okay, when the pressure is increased, the cells all will move like this far. Okay, so that the fluid will start coming outside. Okay, that is called increased capillary permeability. Okay, that means capillaries become very that is the pressure inside the capillaries is very high, so that the capillaries give permission for the fluid to go outside. Okay, or vascular disruption is any breakdown in the cells of the blood vessels. Okay, so anything where the cells of the blood vessels are damaged, whereby fluid is coming outside and getting accumulated in the pleural space, can result in pleural effusion. Okay, so in increased capillary permeability, the conditions are, so examples of this is congestive heart failure, and systemic vena cava obstruction. Okay, so the increased capillary permeability will occur in case of any that is blood vessel is increased, so that can be due to a congestive heart failure. Okay, congestive heart failure means here there is some problem in the heart where the heart is not functioning. Heart main function is to pump blood and send the blood outside. Okay, either to pulmonary circulation or to the systemic circulation. Okay, in this condition, the congestive heart failure, the heart muscles will become dilated and they are damaged, so that they are not able to contract and send the blood outside. So because of that, more and more fluid will get accumulated inside the blood vessels and also in the pulmonary capillaries itself. The blood will get accumulated, and because of that there is increased tension created within the blood vessels. When there is more tension in the blood vessel, the cells will move far, so that fluid will go outside and accumulate. They can either accumulate in the pericardium space, and also because very near to the heart lungs are there, so they can accumulate in the pleural space also. So okay, again systemic vena cava obstruction means any obstruction in the vena cava is coming to the right atrium. Okay, so any obstruction in this vena cava, the veins all will start dilating, and when the veins are dilated, nearby the lung is there, so the fluid will go into the pleural space or in the pericardial space, that is in the heart. So anywhere effusion can occur. Okay, and next condition is increased hydrostatic pressure in the systemic and pulmonary circulation. Okay, so again this is same. So when the capillary permeability will increase because of increased hydrostatic pressure. Hydrostatic pressure means it is the pressure created by the fluid to push the fluid outside. Okay, so that is, there is more congestion inside the blood vessels, so the blood vessels are pushing more and more fluid outside. Okay, so that is increased hydrostatic pressure in systemic and pulmonary circulation. Okay, so again this also is due to congestive heart failure. Okay, whenever there is increased pressure only, the capillary permeability will increase, thereby fluid will go outside. Okay, so again it can be due to a congestive heart failure or systemic vena cava obstruction, or it can also be due to a infarction, that is myocardial infarction. Myocardial infarction means there is decreased blood supply to the heart, so heart is not able, so heart main function is to contract and send the blood outside. So here heart is not able to contract because of the infarction, means death of the myocardial cells. Okay, again this also same. Okay, hydrostatic pressure means it is increasing the pressure inside the blood vessels. When the blood vessels are when the capillaries and blood vessels increase pressure, there will be capillary permeability. That means cells will move far and they will allow the fluid to go outside. Okay, next is reduced pressure in the pleural space. Okay, so that means the inside the pleural space the pressure is very low. Okay, so this is because some problem in the lungs. Okay, so where the pressure is decreased, so only when the pressure is high, the pleura can push the fluid into the lymphatics and drain it outside. Okay, when the pressure is low, because of some conditions of the lungs, the pleura is not able to push the fluid outside. Okay, so this condition may be due to a atelectasis. Okay, so atelectasis is collapse of the lungs, where the lung is not functioning, so they are not able to exert enough pressure, whereby the fluid is not able to excreted outside. Okay, it is not able to eliminate. Another condition is like fibrosis. Okay, any fibrosis of the lungs or fibrosis of the pleural membrane, then the membrane is not elastic to uh, to drain the fluid outside, so the fluid gets accumulated in the pleura itself. That is called as reduced pressure in pleural space, which can result in pleural effusion. And then last type is, the last causes is decreased lymphatic drainage. Okay, so lymphatic drainage can occur due to infection or any inflammation or any trauma or any malignancy. Okay, in all these condition, the lymphatic vessels has to drain the excess fluid. Okay, in case of all this infection, inflammation, trauma, there is fibrous tissue deposition occurring on the fibrous tissue deposition occurring. Because of that, lymphatics will not drainage properly, and also malignancy where the lymph vessels are getting blocked, and because of all this blockage or obstruction, the lymph vessels are not able to drain the excess fluid, so there is increased fluid accumulation in the pleura. Okay, so these are the causes of pleural effusion. Okay, and now I am coming to the types of pleural effusion. Okay, so there are two types of pleural effusion. One is transudative pleural effusion. Transudative pleural effusion is, it is due to increased hydrostatic pressure and decreased oncotic pressure. Okay, so increased hydrostatic pressure and decreased oncotic pressure. Okay, so this pleural effusion is caused due to pressure changes. Okay, so hydrostatic pressure is the ability of the blood vessel hydrostatic pressure is the ability of the blood vessel to push the fluid outside. Okay, and oncotic pressure is the ability of the capillaries or the blood vessel to pull the fluid inside. Okay, this is pulling and this is pushing. Okay, so in case of increased hydrostatic pressure, so this pressure is in the blood vessels. So in case of increased hydrostatic pressure in the blood vessels or capillaries, the fluid will go outside, and when there is decreased oncotic pressure, the fluid cannot be pulled inside the blood vessels. So because of that outside space, that is in the pleural space, if there is excess fluid accumulation, then we call it as transudative pleural effusion. Okay, so this is because excess fluid accumulation in the pleura due to increased hydrostatic pressure and decreased oncotic pressure of the capillaries. Okay, so and examples are congestive heart failure, cirrhosis. Okay, so this all lack of albumin, and atelectasis is collapse of lungs, again pressure changes, and hypoalbuminemia, nephrotic syndrome, again due to decreased protein, and peritoneal dialysis. Okay, whenever in this is a procedure they do for kidney patients with kidney disease. So in peritoneal dialysis, they, in order to remove the excess urea creatinine, they administer so much peritoneal fluid inside the peritoneal cavity. Okay, so when so much fluid is accumulated, then near the peritoneum, so lungs are coming like this and the abdominal peritoneal layer is like this. Okay, so because it is very near, then they can, so here abdominal peritoneal space is there and pleural space here. Okay, because here peritoneal cavity, when the fluid is accumulated, again the exchange of fluid will take place, diffusion takes place because of the high pressure in the peritoneal area, so where the fluid will go into the pleural space. Okay, and then pulmonary edema. So in pulmonary edema, inside the lungs, so edema means fluid filled, excess of fluid is accumulated, and pulmonary is in the lungs, so there is excess accumulation of fluid in the lungs. So when there is more fluid in the lungs, there is excess pressure which will, where diffusion occurs, fluid from the lungs diffuse into the pleural cavity. Okay, so this is called transudative pleural effusion. Okay, so in exudative pleural effusion is, it is accumulation of fluid due to inflammation. Okay, it is accumulation of fluid in the pleural space due to infection and inflammation which cause the increased so which increases the capillary permeability. Okay, so here again, so in case of inflammation, infection, there is okay, so inflammation and infection, there is increased in the fluid which inside the blood vessels, and this, because of this, the cells become loose and the fluid will go outside. That is called as exudative pleural effusion. Okay, so this is transudative means because of the pressure changes, and exudative is because of the excess fluid which is accumulated because the lymphatics are not able to drain properly due to infection and inflammation. Then we call it as exudative pleural effusion. Okay, in that first cause is malignancy. So as I said, they will obstruct the lymphatic flow, and pulmonary embolism or edema. Okay, so both edema can occur transudate also, exudate also, because again here also the capillary permeability is increased. Okay, and pulmonary embolism, again I said it is due to block in the arteries. Okay, they will also cause exudative effusion. Okay, and autoimmune disease like SLE and rheumatoid arthritis. So in these cases, so this rheumatoid arthritis, SLE means systemic lupus erythematosus. Okay, here there will be formation of clot inside the blood vessels which will obstruct the flow of blood, and because of that fluid will move outside the blood vessels. Okay, and any infection like tuberculosis, pancreatitis. Okay, in all this infection, lymphatic drainage will not be there, so all the lymph vessels will get accumulated in the nearby spaces. So in pancreatitis, first the peritoneal space will be filled with fluid, and because peritoneum is very near to the pleura, will also get accumulated with the fluid. Okay, next is trauma. So trauma, again due to any injury, the fluid directly enters into the pleural space. Okay, and perforation is due to again infection and inflammation and sepsis of the peritoneal fluid. Then again due to pleural cavity is nearby, so they can easily accumulate inside the pleural space. And again infection of pericardial disease. Okay, any disease near the lung or near the heart or near the stomach, because everywhere the pleural lining is touching all this area, the fluid will change places and there can be pleural effusion. Okay, so these are the causes of pleural effusion. Okay, next coming to the pathophysiology of pleural effusion. So in pathophysiology, first is any condition that increases the hydrostatic pressure and decreases the oncotic pressure. Okay, so I said hypoalbuminemia, nephrotic syndrome, so many conditions are there which will change this pressure, and because of that movement of fluid from the chest wall or capillaries into the pleural space. Chest wall means from the cells inside the chest wall, and capillaries is blood vessels. Okay, from any of these area fluid will shift into the pleural space because this pressure is not maintained within the blood vessels. Okay, so when there is more fluid is shifting, there will be increased accumulation of fluid in pleural space, which is called as transudative pleural effusion. Okay, and coming to exudative pleural effusion, so this is due to any predisposing conditions like cancer, trauma, malignancy. Okay, in all these conditions there is altered permeability of the pleural membrane. Okay, so I said na, permeability means the cells become very loose. Okay, so because of that the fluid will start coming inside. Okay, altered permeability of the pleural membrane, which result in exudation of fluid from capillaries and the chest wall into the pleural space. Okay, because the membranes become loose, easily fluid can enter into the pleural space, which will cause increased accumulation of fluid in the pleural space, which is called as exudative pleural effusion. Okay, next coming to the signs and symptoms or clinical manifestation of clinical manifestations. So as any condition, patient will have dyspnea and orthopnea. So dyspnea means difficulty in breathing, orthopnea means patient can breathe only in the sitting position. Okay, and then pleuritic chest pain. So because of the increased fluid accumulation, patient will have severe chest pain. Okay, and there will be decreased breath sounds. Okay, because fluid is accumulating, patient oxygen and carbon dioxide gases are not exchanging properly, so patient will have decreased breath sounds. Okay, and there will be tactile and vocal fremitus. Okay, fremitus means the patient speak, when he is speaking the words won't come smoothly, he will say that in a speech, in between he will have this difficulty in breathing. Okay, so the words will not come like if we want to say breath, he will say breath like that. He uses the wave like sound in the speech, that is called as tactile or vocal fremitus. Okay, and then you can see dullness on percussion. So when you percuss the lung area, it will be dull due to fluid accumulation. Okay, so other than this, other conditions, in case patient has congestive heart failure and the thing, patient may go for edema or ascites, or okay, in case of any uremic syndrome or kidney problem, patient will have like nephrotic syndrome, patient can go for polyuria. Okay, and in case pulmonary edema, there can be blood tinged pink frothy sputum. So like that, according to the patient's what is the condition that is causing pleural effusion, all the organs of the body, the person patient may have problem. Okay, next coming to the diagnostic findings. Okay, so diagnostic findings, so in history you have to collect about any diseases early, like patient had a congestive heart failure or any superior vena cava syndrome, any tumor, anti-tumor, any embolism or any infectious disease like TB, pneumonia if the patient had all earlier. So those you will be collecting in the history. Okay, and next in physical examination, you can see patient is having breathing difficulty and the altered decreased breath sounds. Okay, so and egophony is voice will break while speaking. Okay, so he cannot speak words or sentence in a complete way, that this fremitus of sound can be heard. Okay, and next you will do a chest x-ray, ultrasonogram, CT chest. Okay, so this all will show presence of pleural effusion, and also if there is any tumor or infection uh, which is obstructing the lungs. Okay, so anything in the chest problem can be identified. Okay, other than this, you can do a sputum analysis and culture for identifying if there is any bacteria or microorganisms. Okay, and then ABG analysis and pulse oximetry, this to see if patient is having oxygenation. Okay, whether so in this saturation will be low. Okay, other than this, same like as I already said, if the patient is having any congestive heart failure, you have to do all investigation related to the heart, and in case cirrhosis of liver, then you will be doing all the liver function test. In case of patient is having nephrotic syndrome and uremic syndrome, you have to do the renal function test. Okay, according to the patient's cause, you have to do all the investigations. Okay, and the main confirmatory test will be the thoracentesis with pleural fluid analysis. Okay, so you have to do a thoracentesis. That means as I already said, in previous chest injury, there will be a needle inserted into the pleural cavity and they will aspirate a small amount of fluid. Okay, and this thoracentesis we can do as a diagnostic procedure and also treatment procedure. In diagnostic procedure, only a 10 to 15 ml of fluid will be removed and that will be sent for investigation, whereas in treatment they will remove around 500. So according to the effusion, how much effusion is there, they can remove the excess fluid from the pleural cavity. Okay, so in pleural fluid analysis, again you have to check for protein, glucose, LDH levels and pH. Okay, so this all has to be checked, and also they will do a pleural fluid culture and sensitivity to identify if there is any microorganisms, and they can also send it for a biopsy culture, that means biopsy in case of any malignancy. Okay, so all this testing you have to do in the thoracentesis procedure. Okay, next coming to treatment. So mainly these patients are treated with diuretics like classics, that is furosemide. Okay, in case to decrease the accumulation of fluid. Okay, otherwise you have to give any antibiotics in case of infection. Okay, so this is treating the appropriate cause. Okay, so you have to see what is the cause that is causing pleural effusion, and that cause will be treated. Okay, so in case if there is patient is having congestive heart failure and so much of hydrostatic pressure, then you have to decrease the pressure by giving furosemide, and in case if there is any infection, you have to give this antibiotics. Okay, there are so many antibiotics, amoxicillin, levofloxacin, etc. according to the culture and sensitivity reports. Okay, and then you have to and then you have to give restrict salt and water. Okay, so usually 800 to 1200 ml of water is only given. This is because patient, so increased water can accumulate more fluid. Okay, so restrict salt. So salt also increases more water in the pleural space, so that is sodium. Okay, salt or sodium, and water has to be restricted. Okay, otherwise they will do some interventional procedures in case of pleural effusion. First is thoracentesis. As I already said, they will do thoracentesis is as a diagnostic and also as a therapeutic procedure. Okay, so aspiration of fluid from pleural cavity. So according to the amount of fluid is accumulated from the ultrasonogram chest, they will measure it, and then according to that they will aspirate the fluid. Okay, and whenever the patient fluid is aspirated, you have to monitor the vital sign, especially BP. When copious amount of fluid is removed, patient BP can fall. Okay, so you have to do that, and also positioning, like patient usually will be sitting or in the side lying position will be done, given to the patient while doing this procedure. Okay, next procedure done is chemical pleurodesis. So chemical pleurodesis is they inject certain chemicals like bleomycin sulfate or zinc sulfate or any talc. Okay, or talc will be injected into the pleural space, and this help in binding, formation of fibrosis and binding of the pleural space, so that this will prevent further reaccumulation of fluids into the pleura. Okay, and the last procedure is surgical decortication. Surgical decortication means it is removal of the pleural cavity. Okay, so in case if the pleural cavity has gone for fibrosis or any necrosis, or it has become like a sclerosed tissue, then they will remove that sclerosed part of the pleural membrane, that is called as decortication. Okay, so these are the surgical procedure done. Otherwise other procedure like thoracotomy. So in thoracotomy they can also do a open or a video assisted thoracotomy. Video assisted means uh, using a fiber optic lens. Using fiber optic lens, they will go put a small hole on the thoracic cavity, and they enter inside and see the area. So during thoracotomy they explore and treat the underlying problem. Okay, that means whatever problem is there, wherever the malignancy or any obstruction or any lymphatic drainage problem, so whatever is there, they will treat with the help of thoracotomy. Okay, so these are the procedures done. So mainly nursing management is whenever patient is going for a thoracentesis, then you have to see all the vital signs, and according to doctors any pre-medication is there that has to be administered, and patient has to be kept comfortable, and also reassurance to be provided. And also after thoracentesis and other surgical procedure, patient may come with a drainage like intercostal drainage or any drainage. So you have to see the area for any bleeding, any hematoma, or whether the drainage is working properly, and also you have to monitor the continuously monitor the vital signs of the patient, and mainly BP, everything you have to monitor, and as per the doctor's advice you have to give all the post operative medications, and post operative treatment should be carried out. I hope you would have understood the class. If you are interested, like, share and subscribe. Thank you for listening.